Hello boys and girls, Christine here with a discussion about Valten and the Empire in Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires Lords of the End Times. We do not know for certain that Creative Assembly is planning to do a second Empire DLC, but based on leaks and available information, it seems very likely that they are going to do Nagash, of course, Neferata, and then they're going to do Tanquil for the Skaven and Valten for the Empire. Now, there's multiple ways they could do Valten and the Empire in general, and Bar Stodbringer as a free legendary lord, but here's my particular perspective on it. And yes, they should do all of this at once, not this drip feed of content, because Warhammer 3 has kind of outstayed its welcome. Some people will disagree with that, some will agree with that. Is my simple perspective on the subject. But let's first talk about how Creative Assembly could do Valten. Well, when we look at the lore, and it's always a good point to use the lore, Valten showed up at Altdorf. He got Garl Maraz from Karl Franz. He didn't become Emperor, but he got the weapon. One of the ways Creative Assembly could do that is to implement a choice when you start a campaign as Karl Franz. You can either start with Karl Franz as is and Valten shows up after a certain point later on if you're the kind of player who prefers a longer campaign, or you can start as Valten if you just want chaotic mess. So that means higher level settlements from the beginning, a faster pacing, more aggressive AI. That would be my preferred choice. So give players that choice. You know, some people will always prefer longer campaigns. Some people prefer shorter campaigns. Personally, I'm on the shorter side because the current issues with the end game do not get resolved just because you play 70 turns. The end game is just not fixable easily enough. It could be, but I'm uncertain if Creative Assembly can resolve all of that with the DLC. So they should focus on making that experience, that short-term experience, good, and then when they're willing in a future DLC to improve the endgame, you know, the 60, 70, 100 turns experience, or campaign customization, when they're willing to do that. There is something called overreach. So basically I would say, if you're playing Karl Franz, you get basically a choice at the start campaign. Do you have Valten as a legendary lord, or do you have him show up and once Karl is like level 15 or level 25, so to speak, he shows up as a legendary lord, not a legendary hero, none of that nonsense. And maybe they should allow multiple legendary lords per army if you want to, in specific circumstances, like Vlad and Isabella should both be legendary lords. Valten and Karl should both be legendary lords. It's ridiculous to believe otherwise. Like, legendary heroes do not work because legendary heroes are just heroes, and characters like Vlad, Isabella should also be able to lead armies. How could Valten work as a lord? Well, he would be very powerful in combat, very inspirational for the troops, but Karl would be the leader. At least until Valten becomes Sigmar, then he takes over the whole damn empire. What's left of it, given the end times are going to be the pivotal event, so Archeon is going to be a problem, Nagash is going to be a problem, and the choice of a campaign in Valten's situation is how do you keep the empire together. Imperial authority as it currently stands is a good idea of a system, though Gelt is too far, Volkmar is irrelevant, Marquis Wolfhard might as well not exist, and those things need to be dealt with as well. One of the core issues that needs to be resolved for the Empire is the situation of research. The current research tree is just a mess. Just in general, the idea of a research tree in Warhammer 3 doesn't work, or nor has it worked really since Empire. I mean, it could work if you could research multiple things at the same time. Like say, okay, I'm choosing an economic research and the military research at the same time. So you could say, you know, research infantry, for instance, but you could also research Clergy of Sigmar. So that is the kind of balancing act Creative Assembly could do. Multiple tracks of research at the same time. And the economic stuff, just make it instant. You know, the stuff that costs money or prestige, just make it instant. Same turn you click it, it happens. You don't waste the turn. Now, that is one aspect. What about Imperial State Troopers? Well, this is actually the one issue I do have in Karl Franz's campaign, because The only real way to get state troopers is if you control the capital. And I think that is something of an annoying system, especially because some state troopers are really good, some are really useless. Knights of War, Empire Knights are just useless, but Eldred's Guard, Spearmen with Shields are really good. I believe that the better system would be for all Imperial campaigns, except Marcus, assuming they don't allow him to come back in the Empire for end times. A better system of campaign would be this. Every Empire Legendary Lord can recruit those state troopers, at least Karl, Elspeth, and Gelt, as long as, or rather Elspeth, Karl, and Valten, as long as those capitals are controlled by an Imperial faction. If they're not controlled, you can't recruit the state troopers. In Karl's case, the extra benefit, of course, would be the Electrocount choice, would be Grudseller. But I think the Electrocount system should be something of a baseline system to a degree, though Karl should obviously have a significant advantage in it. And there's things to be talked about with Gelt. I'll talk about that one situation, because Grave Assembly really kind of messed up with Gelt, really. Kind of took something that was really powerful and just threw him away in an area where he has nothing to do. And it's like, that's a really stupid decision. It seemed a stupid decision when they messed with Cafe and they got Grease's gold tooth right there trying to solve things, and they keep screwing up with that too. Yeah. Anyway, point is, one of the core issues with Imperial recruitment is, one, there's some redundant buildings. So, for instance, do we really need the Temple of Sigmar, or could we just merge this building with something else? That's a point one that we could talk about, because you only recruit flagellants and warrior priests. So sometimes you do end up having too many recruitment buildings. I would just remove it, attach it to something else. Maybe the cavalry building chain gives you the warrior priests, and they also give you, like, just merge these two buildings together would make them more useful. And that's a specific point. And forget the corruption effect, because no one cares about corruption as is unless you're willing to reform that. The core issue for the Empire is infantry. The baseline Imperial infantry, swordsmen, spearmen with shields, halberdiers, all that, just are practically worthless. That isn't to say you don't recruit infantry. I see a lot of people making the mistake. It's like, oh, I just won't get the infantry building and get spearmen. They're not useful. You do at least want spearmen shields. You do want Eldred's Guards if you can get them. You do want great swords, because this is the mistake a lot of Imperial players do make. They don't have a good front line. That front line is not there to win battles, it's there to hold the line. This is where the Empire struggles. Maybe the ability to recruit allied units better would be an option, but this is where End Times could really solve things by giving certain Midland units attached to it. Now, let's talk about the Midland stuff, because this is going to be important. Midland doesn't work in the current context of the map. If you make Boris Todbringer as a playable Legendary Lord, and they should, then that's just a mess. The reality of the situation is the map is too small. Now, I don't know, and I don't think Creative Assembly is capable of improving the map, but what is the point of an End Times DLC if you're not going to fix the map? Because there are large tracts of area in the map that do need that level of expansion. Kislev, Midland. Like, literally, Talabheim should be half the size it is. Midland should be twice the size it is. And some of the stuff, nonsensical stuff in the Misty Hills and Kazrak and all that is just nonsense. Pull it out, create 2 Midland provinces, have Boris start with 1, with the city of Middenheim, and get Festus the hell out of there. Like, basically, the Empire and the entire map should be twice the size it is, or maybe 3 times the size. Not necessarily bigger distances between settlements, but more settlements. Some will argue that's complicated to do. The simple reality is, it's not complicated to do. We've seen with Cast Robbie. Creative Assembly just needs to pour in the proper financial resources, because they're spending too little on it. They're working on the core assumption that if, well, we don't need to care about Warhammer 3, we can just put in money and develop 40k Total War. That will not work. Because a lot of your current fan base, Creative Assembly, is really, really angry at you for the way you've handled Warhammer 3. If you believe for a single second that you can release 40k Total War and leave Warhammer 3 in the current state it is, with the current map it is, without fixing things, then the sales figures of 40k Total War will be devastating. And that's the point. Sega pulls the plug. And that's the mistake Creative Assembly keeps making, the financial decision. Though, I'm not going to be the kind of guy like Legend of Total War who says, oh, it's bad management. I'm sorry, no. The developers make a bunch of stupid decisions as well. So do the community managers. The developers make the stupid decisions when they rework Tomb Kings and they just do barely enough. Look, guys, I'm going to say this frankly. I have no coding knowledge. I could fix the Tomb Kings in 10 minutes. Literally 10 minutes. You're people with degrees. I'm not sure exactly what you do for work, but but balancing and all that. No. Balancing is something you can fix later. Good ideas should always come first. And that's the thing. It's like, oh, they're doing two things at the same time. And that's something they should have taught you in IT school. You don't do two things at the same time. You have an idea, then you implement it. When a developer is doing both ideas and QA, and then on top of that, he's also thinking about balancing, he's not being a developer, he's being an idiot. An S-tier idiot. On that level, you have an idea. Do Tomb King, and the idea with Tomb Kings is simple. Do they need to be better? Do Vampire Coast and all that need to be better? Okay. How do you implement that? Well, play the damn game, or listen to the feedback of people like myself and other content creators that actually know how to play the game. I'll start doing live streams soon enough on these kind of issues, but I have a catalog of hundreds, thousands of videos on these issues, and they haven't damn changed in a long time. Like, it's auto-resolve, it's all that. Listen to those people, not what gets popularized on Reddit, because that's the mistake Creative Assembly makes. Listen to people like me. Listen to people that aren't just saying what's popular on Reddit or what's popular in modding scenes. Don't copy-paste mods. Modders do not operate on game development schedules. Mods work on the idea of a very small, select player base that wants a certain thing. That's why trying to copy SFO or Radius as a game developer is 1, lazy, 2, stupid, and 3, backfires, because this is the thing Creative Assembly continuously does as a company when they are underfunded. This is where the issues of CA come in. It's a systemic failure of a company. Oh boy, is it a systemic failure. And yes, they are on the cusp of complete collapse. And it's not going to be a gentle one. The moment Creative Assembly ceases to exist as a company is if they ignore what I'm saying right here in this video, keep trying to throttle down my channel, and then they release 4K Total War and Medieval 3 with the same bad game development logic that they've displayed for decades, really, well over a decade. And then they get to play Pikachu when it all blows up in their face, because it will. I'm not saying this because I hate Creative Assembly. That's the point people ignore. I love Creative Assembly. I would like them to keep making games, but I am someone who understands where the risk profile is. And I'm sure there are people within Creative Assembly that also understand where the risk profile is. And I'm sure Sega understands that. They just keep being pushed. Like, the problem is Sega doesn't have the resources. Yes, I know Sega is a big company, but they have their own struggles. They don't have enough people in CA to tell the idiots there, and there are certainly idiots there, how to stop things. Maybe that's something Sega could solve things. And Creative Assembly keeps giving the wheel to the people who are listening to the worst instincts. The problem how that reflects in day-to-day decision is developers are underfunded, they're making bad decisions, and they don't have command decisions, so to speak, on how things should be implemented. Or rather, the visionaries. There should be visionaries. People have a vision for the game. And I don't think there's anyone who has a vision for what Warhammer 3 should be. And if there is a vision of what Warhammer 3 should be, it looks exactly like the Demon Prince. It's a bloody fucking mess. Create a vision. It doesn't need to be shared publicly. Create a fucking vision in your company of what the game should be. Constantly update it, evolve it. Have a dedicated team for that, and every decision has to pass through the visionary team in order for things to work. That would be all I really have to say on the subject of Lords of the End Times, the Empire, and other issues. Costin signing out.